Welcome to Simplify to Scale, a show dedicated to helping you scale a high-impact and high-profit business that you love without all of the complexity and chaos that can keep you trapped in the day-to-day. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and with decades of scaling experience, I know what actually works and what's just hype. So if you are done with all of the one-size-fits-all scaling advice and all of the overnight success promises, and instead you want proven practical strategies that will help you simplify operations, elevate your leadership, amplify profits, and scale sustainably, let's dive in and get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Simplify to Scale show. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit more on the topic of AI, but through a different lens, and more how things are evolving and some of the really critical things that you can be doing right now to prepare your business for anything that continues to change in advance. And we talked about this in the last episode, but we're going to go from a slightly different angle and a little bit deeper today. I am getting ready at the time of recording this to deliver a talk on AI tomorrow. And this is something I speak about often, but I really wanted to look at this from a different angle for this talk and look at very much the future of where things are going in small business and how people should be thinking about AI and how they should be getting their business ready, what they can be doing right now with it in a really meaningful way, as well as what they want to be getting ahead of and thinking about and laying the runway for, so that as capabilities continue to accelerate what's possible, they're able to really take advantage of that. And so tomorrow, I'm going to take a lot of the things that you've heard me talk about over these past episodes, probably since the end of last year into this year, and boil it down into a really short, little tight session. But I want to go a little deeper into one of the things that I've been reflecting on as I was trying to piece together what the most important pieces were to share in this talk, because I only have 8 minutes. And so the great thing about that is you have to be super specific and really intentional about what you share, and not everything is going to make that discussion. But one of the things that I was reflecting on, and if you're a longtime listener of the show, you'll know this is something I've been talking about for a really, really long time now, years. I sold one of the very first AI courses, if you remember, Scale with AI. And I've done several iterations of that. I then took it and just integrated it and made it part of my programs. I'm now getting ready to actually bring it back as its own standalone thing, as an evolution of my Simplify to Scale program. But that's a conversation for a different day. And some of what I was reflecting on and looking at is I've been a long time user in general. I tend to be ahead of most things tech related. Just kind of who I am by nature. And a lot of the work that I do with clients and helping them be prepared for the future of where things going is I tend to be an early adopter of things because it helps me learn them and learn how they legitimately will help somebody simplify or scale versus be the distraction that they can often turn into for a lot of people, right? Like what matters versus what is just noise and pure distraction, bright, shiny object. So not surprising that I was a little ahead in what I was doing and what I was using. And I was getting a lot of PR and media features about what I was doing. And one of the early ways that I was using AI that I've talked about on the podcast before, that was a little bit different from what other people were doing, was I built a Krista bot. And a lot of people have those now, but this was few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, a lot of people did not have those at that time. And what I did was it pulled from all of my content in my program. So this was something you only got access to if you were in one of my paid programs. And it pulled from my specific content. And as part of that, it would answer questions for anybody who is in my programs. And it would answer 2 types of questions, which was really helpful. It would act as me. So if they had a question on how do I build my lean dream team? What are the 4 different levels of systems? How should I be approaching this? It would actually answer them from my voice, from my actual training. There was no external AI. It wasn't like ChatGPT making stuff up on you. This was actually just pulling from my knowledge base. And it would answer questions, but it would also take them specifically to the point in the training videos or the Q&A call replays where I had shared and talked about this in more depth. So it would give them a nice answer and summary, which was often what they needed, but it would also take them to the specific areas of the content that I had so that they could go a little bit deeper and listen or rewatch something if they were looking for it. So this ended up having a really big impact inside my business from a customer service perspective, because people didn't need to reach out to us and say, where was that video again? Or which module was it where Krista mentioned this thing? Because they were able to go and interact with Kristabot. And in doing so, they were able to find everything that they needed. And I found that the adoption and the retention of what happened within this program was way higher because people used it all the time because they did not need to wait for a Q&A call with me, or they didn't need to email my team to find out where to access something. And even with the best product architecture and design, which we did a lot around user experience, people still get stuck. People still have questions. And it doesn't matter how often you have Q&A calls or think tank calls or however you have your program structured. The reality is people need support when they need support, and it doesn't always align with when the calls are. So this ended up being a really great way to enhance the client experience, help people get better results from what they were already doing. And it cut down on our operational support and what it took to actually run our programs as well. So it ended up being a win-win. And to be even cooler, other people didn't have this yet. Other people were not using it yet. This is something I know a lot of people do now. Still kind of new for a lot of people, even these many years later. I see people teaching courses on teaching people how to create these in like ChatGPT and things like that. And it's great. There's a lot of different options now to do this. There were few options back then when I had first implemented it. So that was kind of the first iteration of what we did. And one of the things that I want you to listen for in that story was that I was pulling from my own IP. It was me in robot form that was answering people. There was nothing being made up. If it didn't have the context, if I didn't talk about something that somebody asked, there was no made up answer. It was pulling exclusively from my IP and from my thought leadership. And that was why I trusted to put it in my program. And it was a differentiator and it was an enhancement. It wasn't something I marketed a lot or talked about a lot. I probably could have actually marketed it more as a differentiator, but it was something that people loved when they got inside Simplify to Scale and inside some of what I was doing. So that was something that I'd done, like I said, probably 3 or 4 years ago now. It's quite a while ago. And so that worked really well. And I thought, well, this is great. Now what can we do? And as ChatGPT became something that we were using more right now, again, so many different options. And not that we didn't have a lot of options back then, but that was really more the first big one on the scene, I will say, for where people started to create their own custom things to be able to share inside programs and with clients. And again, I know there's a lot of specialty programs and things that did that and did that far better. I worked with some of them for sure, but the ones where more the majority of people started to experiment with and use. And so one of the things that we did really early on is as part of our lean scaling system, as you know, there's 9 engines. And so for each one of those engines, we created custom GPTs, again, that were trained on every single thing in our particular methods, our IPs, our assets, our templates. Again, it would have my Q&A calls. I'd even take podcast episodes that I did that were on those topics and upload it. So I would have these GPTs very deeply trained on that particular engine. And I would train the GPT on how to think and how to act and who it was and how it would show up and how to answer and how not to answer and what to do and what to never do. And this is far beyond like don't use M dash kind of stuff. This is me training it basically on truly our brain. I know that gets used a lot when people are talking about AI, it's your brain. But like literally it was me taking my brain and how I would think about and talk about things in giving the GPT the actual context so that it could help my students inside my programs in the same way I would and give them this incredible resource and this incredible asset that they could use. And so that was something I'd done probably a year or two later. So we've had that for quite a while now. And inside our certification programs, it's especially valuable because people can use them and they can take, for example, one of the things that we give people access to is our waste assessment. If you've ever done a waste assessment with us, it's a really robust interactive assessment. There's a digital component, there's an actual interview component. And then we do this deep analysis on your business to look at not only where are you wasting time and money and energy, but what the biggest leverage points are to be able to reclaim that in your business. It's something we've sold for a lot of years. It's a really great catalyst into our either done for you services. When I used to deliver CSO services myself, fractional services, they would always upsell into that. I think I had like 100% conversion rate on upselling into that because it was what I designed it for. Which is why I now, when I certify people as a CSOO, I give them that as the gateway offer that they could use. But that being said, it was this really incredible thing, but it did take a really long time pre-AI to go through all of those different results and analyze them and come up with the right path forward for people that was really meaningful and that was truly the highest leverage points without just being a generic thing that most people give people that's kind of boilerplate template. Like this was actually personalized for their business based on their vision, based on what I was seeing, and based on all of my knowledge and insights and having done this for 30 years, right? And so if you think about that, how do you take that and then train somebody else to do it? Well, we trained the GPT to do it. So now we're able, when somebody gets the results back from the waste assessment from a client that they're working with, they can go ahead and plug it in and it's trained on the template output. It's trained on all of the nuance of consider this, don't consider this. If they say this, do this. If they say this, don't do this. It has all of that like really depth of training so that it actually spits out the report that goes to the client for them. I mean, pretty close to polished. They can go in and make some adjustments and do some things, but I've got the templates uploaded. I've got the instructions. I mean, I have this thing really, really well trained where people can then use it. And I mean, this saves them days of work, super high value, super high conversion, right? And so these are the sorts of things that we did next with ChatGPT, right? And again, now there's still a lot of people that do that. You may have this as well. Again, it's something that we have within some of our programs. Some of the things I didn't like about it is if I give someone a custom GPT, they can share it with someone else. Well, that's all my IP and all my thought leadership and all my everything that I trained. I don't really want people sharing that with somebody else, right? So there are other options. There's other tools, yes. But that being said, that was the one thing I never really liked about it. And so, of course, big question people are asking is, do I move from ChatGPT to Claude? Well, I think every tool has their own strengths. There's their own place. If you just for a moment forget about all of the shady things that all of the tools do and which ones you want to use and which ones you don't, because there's 1,001 reasons to use none of them if you really look at some of the shady stuff that goes on. But if we take that off the table for a moment and just look at it through the lens of the tool and the capabilities and its strengths versus its weaknesses, right? There's certain things that certain tools are really great for. There's other things that other tools are really great for. But I looked at the ChatGPT option and said, cool, it had its place, but what's next? What's the next evolution? And what's the next evolution that's a lot more secure? Someone's not going to take that GPT then and share it with somebody else. Is it Claude? Is it Claude plus Obsidian? I do a lot with Claude Code plus Obsidian. And if you're not familiar with these tools, the tools that I'm talking about kind of don't matter. Don't listen for the tools. I'm more sharing about the thought process behind it. If you hear the commonalities in what I'm saying, it's my IP. It's the way I think. It's how I would coach someone or how I would consult with someone or how I would mentor and guide someone. It's the advice I would give a business. It's my 30 plus years of experience poured into how I would make decisions. And it's the ability to train an AI agent, AI tool, AI something on that. So what's important is it's a combination of assets and IP and thinking and discernment that are pouring into something that then can have a really big impact and enhance a client experience. That to me is ultimately what it's all about. And if you take nothing else away from this episode, that's what I want you to take away. But that being said, so that's some of the next evolution of things is how do I look at my assets, my IP, my thinking, my discernment, all of my decades of experience, the things that I do and that I know and that I would recommend that are pretty different from what a lot of other people recommend. I won't rant about it on this episode, but I think most of the way people tell people to build teams is so completely backwards. And now I see people telling people to build AI teams that basically are replicating the broken team model of before, but with AI agents. Like, that's not going to help long term. Yeah, it's going to save you some time. It's going to save you some money. And your business is still going to be dependent on you, and it's still going to be a complex beast. I'm seeing people kind of missing the bigger picture and the opportunity of actually redesigning and reimagining and looking at the future of what small business looks like when AI is so deeply integrated into how we work and how we run and how we grow and how we scale what we do, that it looks different instead of plugging AI into a broken and overly complex and antiquated model and just having it plug into that existing structure, which is unfortunately what I'm seeing a lot of people teach. I'm seeing a lot of the really big name people teach it. And I'm hoping that they evolve some of their thinking and some of their realization when the cool factor wears off, when people realize like, oh my God, it's amazing. Look what an agent can do. And then all of a sudden they realize, okay, cool, I've got agents and I have fewer people. So my expense is down over here, but I have no idea what the heck is going on in my business. I'm drowning in complexity. And why am I the one who's managing an agent, like as a founder of my business, right? So I'm hoping that some of these other people will start to look at the patterns and start to look at and recognize where the model itself needs to shift. And AI then needs to be looked at through how it can be leveraged very strategically instead of one for one replacing what already isn't really smart and isn't really working really well. Again, topic for another day. So bringing it back to the question that I'm asking myself right now, that would be a really great one to be reflecting on for yourself as well, is when I think about the through line and everything I've ever done, it's really always been about my asset, my IP, my thinking, my discernment, and my unique point of view. And how do I leverage the tools and the technologies that are available in combination with them to enhance the client experience and to be able to scale the business with less dependency on me, but without a compromise to how supported clients feel and to the transformational nature of what I do. In the different tools and technology and capabilities keep advancing, keep changing. They will keep advancing and changing really quickly. But if you're clear on what your goal is with it, that goal stays consistent for me always. And if you're clear on what you do and what you do different and what you believe and how you get people results, and especially if you get people results in ways that are different from what other people do. If you're really clear on all of that, then you can evolve with the technologies, just as I did, starting with the Christabot, moving into the custom GPTs, and now going all in on building different agents and skills into what is now Scale with AI, which is the next evolution of Simplified at Scale. It's taking those engines, it's taking the different pieces that are super important in a business for the business to function, to run well, to grow successfully, to scale sustainably. Taking all of that and looking at how can I leverage my IP, my assets, my thinking, my decisioning, my 30 plus years of experience, and combine it with the available tools and technology, which right now, the agent capabilities are pretty incredible, might be something different and even more advanced a year or 5 from now, and turn it into something that makes adoption less of a barrier for people, that makes results able to be seen more quickly for people, and that ends up being something that can be truly embedded into how the business operates. Not something that's bolted on top of something somebody already does, because that's just adding more. And more is not the path to scale, right? You hear me talk all the time. It's simplify to scale for a reason. It's subtract, then multiply. It is not add. So you don't want to bolt stuff on top of what people are already doing. You don't want to one-for-one replace. You're often replacing something that was broken in the first place with something that is now going to do that a whole lot faster. So if you're doing the wrong thing and then you're doing the wrong thing faster, Is it better that it's faster? I'm going to say probably not. But most people aren't noticing because they're so enamored with the fact that it's being done so much more efficiently and so quick that they aren't even noticing that it wasn't the right thing in the first place to be doing. So wherever you are on your AI adoption journey, if you are an early adopter who, like me, is continuously evolving and looking for ways to leverage the new capabilities that are available, but in a way that's really meaningful and that does actually enhance your client experience and your business, the way you run and grow and scale it, instead of just be this distraction and this fun thing to learn and play with that might actually take you away from your vision or away from your values and the way that you like to work, right? If you're doing that with intention, amazing. If you're just dipping your toes in and you're realizing, all right, I know there's a lot here. I need to use this beyond creating some social media captions. And I know there's a lot more that I can do with this. Amazing. Wherever you're at on that journey, the thing that I think is really important is, what is your vision? Always comes back to what your vision is. What are your values? What's important to you? Like, what is the business that you want? What is the impact you want to make? Why do you do what you do? How do you want to help people? What is the kind of transformation that you want to provide for people? And then look at how can you use AI as a strategic asset to, again, as I shared with what I'm doing, help someone get results quicker, deepen their results, engage more so that they retain more. How can you lower the barrier to someone seeing results, adopting something, or having the experience that they want to have? And internally in your own business, how can you leverage it to actually free yourself from the day-to-day? If your goal is to shift your focus to writing your next book or doing more speaking on stages or doing more traveling or focusing more on wealth building or starting another business or investing in another business or whatever your personal dreams and business bucket list is, whatever that ends up looking like for you, how can you strategically leverage AI to help make that possible? And what I will say in a lot of cases, when I was revisiting Scale with AI, when I was bringing that back and Scale with AI and Simplify to Scale had a baby, and it is now Scale with AI, which is just Simplify to Scale, basically with AI as the engine that is making everything that I've always done with people so much simpler. I've simplify to scale, which is great. And AI really did help me do it. But as I looked at so much of that, I really thought about it. And I said, so many programs that I see on the market, so much of what I see people teaching, they're teaching the founder these things. And that's cool. Like, as the founder, you might want to learn those skills. You might want to have those skills. They're good skills to have. But if you are learning those skills yourself and then you're the one implementing them in the business, that frequently means you're the one owning and maintaining them in the business. And it didn't free you from the day-to-day. It actually trapped you deeper into it. Sure, you might have an agent doing a bunch of things and automatically sending you a morning briefing and doing like all of these cool things that people are doing. That's great. But at the end of the day, it's still you that things are dependent on. And it's still you that's doing a lot of that. And it's still you learning the technology and installing the technology and trying to figure out how to fix it if it breaks. And is that what you want to be spending your time doing as the founder of your business? Or are there other things that you want to be doing? Now, of course, if you're planning to sell AI services, of course, you should be the one all up in there learning it all and going to town, right? This is part of what I do intentionally because it's what I help my clients with. It's what I've always helped them with when it comes to scaling. Tools and technology is a key part of how someone makes their vision a reality. So it's a piece of what I do. So for me, I geek out on this kind of stuff. I love learning this stuff. It's great. But when I look at most of the visionary founders that I partner with, that's not the right thing for them to be doing. It is the right thing for their business to be adopting, but it is not necessarily the right thing for them to be doing. They don't need to be the ones fully building it and fully setting it up. Once they get how they make decisions and how they think about things and that brain piece of it out of their head and into the technology, beyond that, it needs to be their team that is ultimately installing and configuring and owning. And they are providing input and sure learning, but only in the areas where it makes sense versus being the one who's fully immersed in it and the one who's fully taking this on is almost another part of a job of a founder that people never envisioned having. And so when I was reimagining scale with AI, I actually built it for the team to do. So the founder's included. The founder has a very key piece of things. Founder actually spends time with me inside Visionary Collective, where we look at what it means to actually be the visionary leader of your business when you've got a business built and running on AI agents and a leaner team. And so we look at that. But instead of having this be a program that I'm selling to founders, again, founders get access if they want to do it, cool. But it's for their team specifically. It's for the senior leaders of their team to be the ones that are spending the time installing and configuring and running and maintaining and optimizing and all of the things, the agents, because that is not what the founder should do. That does not free them from the day to day. I do not care how efficient that agent is. If it runs through you, it's still dependent on you. And that to me is another piece of things that I wanted to make sure that I touched on in this episode, because your assets, your IP, the way you think, the way you make decisions, that all originated on you. Even if you have something that is deeply productized for your services right now, even if you've been able to take a lot of that and systematize it and get it out of your head into a way where other people can deliver it, or whether you've translated it into, curriculum or training or things that you've done on repeat with clients, even if you've gone through that whole process, there's still a layer of it that lives in your head. And so that's the piece that you really need to work through. The rest of it is just configuring the technology to do what it needs to do. And that does not need to be you specifically. It's better if it's not you specifically. Again, my caveat is, if you are the type of person who teaches other people AI and you're doing this for your clients, then yeah, of course, learn it. But if you're the visionary founder out there trying to make a big impact and transform your clients' lives, and AI for you is what AI is for most people, it's just a tool and it's just a vehicle to be able to do that in different ways, as opposed to being the product itself, that it shouldn't be you that's doing it, at least not long term. And so these are the things that I've been thinking through as I've been not only evolving our AI usage over the years inside Lean Scaling Co., but also as I've been looking at how I train other people on it, how I help businesses adopt it, how I help people install our agents, which is what we do in Scale with AI. You get the full Lean Scaling system, but in AI agent form. So it's fully trained on my methods. It's fully trained as an actual full interconnected ecosystem instead of one-off skills that you're bolting on top of things that you do, that your team, not you, your team will then come in and install in the business and customize. And my team actually maintains it all in the back end. It's pretty cool the way that we've done this. I'm really, really happy with what we've pulled together. And I'm not going deep into that in this episode. And at some point, I'll take you behind the scenes of how we evolved to this and a lot of what I've been doing behind the scenes, because we've been working on this for a long time. I just didn't want to give it away until it was ready. But we're getting ready to actually launch that coming up really soon. Just head to the events page on my website, leanscalingco.com/events, if you want to join me for the workshop or one of the info sessions and see what that looks like. But as you're looking at your own AI adoption, your own AI evolution in your business, whether it's how you're running your business, whether it's how you're delivering your services and your programs, or whether it's even what you're teaching if you are doing something AI related with your clients, anchor it back to the principles that I shared in this episode and look at in your own business where you can strengthen your own assets and IP, where you can take some of the ways that you think about things and the way that you make decisions, and you can get them into a way that you can share them and actually start to transfer some of that into whatever AI technologies you choose to use, so that you're not the one who has to make all the decisions. And so everything is not fully dependent on you. Because when you can do that, the tools, the technologies themselves almost don't matter. They'll continue to change. Right now, Claude's having its day in the sun the way that ChatGPT did a year or two ago. Who knows what it'll be next? It's less about the tools and more about the actual capability itself and what it enables and what you have, because the tools can change, they can advance, But when you've got that solid foundation, when you've got your own assets and IP that things are built on, when you've got the way that you think that it's built on, when you've got your own systems and the things we talked about in the last episode that it's built on, that right there is how you're set up for the future and how you can continue to provide incredible value for your clients and how you can continue to run and grow and scale your business in a much more sustainable way, no matter what happens from a technology perspective. So I hope you got a lot of value out of this episode. If you would like to keep the conversation going, head over to my Substack at leanscaling.substack.com, where you can actually ask questions on this episode and interact right in the comments. I do read and respond to everyone. So I look forward to hearing from you if you had any epiphanies or takeaways or questions from this episode. And I will see you again next week.
If you are a visionary founder ready to get yourself out of the day-to-day operations of your business and scale in a much more simple, sustainable way, I have just the thing. Register to join me for my Scale Simpler workshop at scalesimpler.com. In it, I break down the hidden barriers that keep you trapped in the day-to-day of your business and what to do to finally extract yourself once and for all so things do not keep coming back onto your plate. And if you're someone who partners with founders as their right-hand advisor, consultant, or fractional, I invite you to explore our scaling certification and licensing programs at strategicopsinstitute.com.